Well, few things define an upscale kitchen like a commercial range. You know, those heavy cast iron grates, the beefy knobs, the high BTU burners. The pro-style range has become the modern-day hearth. It really is the focal point in your home's main gathering space. Now, of course, a serious stove can boost your cooking powers too, not to mention your home's resale value. So what do you need to know if you're looking at one of these brawny beauties for your kitchen?
Well, they do add a very dramatic look to your kitchen, but Leslie, they're actually not commercial ranges because commercial ranges don't have the same level of insulation and they can actually be unsafe. They get too hot for a wood-framed house. They need special fireproofing. So instead, manufacturers offer what is generally called a pro-style range. In other words, a commercially styled range, but it's not really the same range that you might see in a kitchen. And they're scaled also to fit sort of the standard depth counters, which that wouldn't apply if it was really a commercial range. And they've got beefed up insulation to keep them safe. Now, their biggest burners still blast out like an amazing 18,000 to 25,000 BTUs, which is huge because a basic range on high is like 12,000 BTUs.
I mean, that's pretty huge. That's a big increase. Imagine how quickly you can boil some water there. I mean, kind of like that. So if you're thinking about adding this pro-style range to your kitchen, what are some of the things that you need to be considering? Well, I think first and foremost, we need to talk about size because many of these pro-style ranges come in standard widths. So you're looking at 30, 36, 48, 60-inch widths. Now, the larger widths generally mean that you're going to get more burners or other cooktop options, maybe like a griddle or some grills or just even more space too. But that cost, you can expect to pay anywhere from $3,500 to $20,000 for a pro-style range. It all really depends on the size, the features, the models, etc. But generally, that's going to be your price point. Now, with fuel options, pro-style burners are always gas. They can be paired with a gas or an electric oven. The latter option, if you do go gas for a burner and electric for the oven, that's going to be known as a dual fuel option. And electric ovens, they do offer more cooking modes and some of them more even heat, but that does add some money to the cost, sometimes as much as $2,000. Now, some cooks just prefer gas ovens for their moisture heat, but most pro-style gas ovens aren't self-cleaning, and those that do cost more. So there's a lot of different options, that you've got to consider that do add to the cost.
And installation is also a lot different than a standard range. Starting with ventilation, pro-style power produces pro-style humidity. It also produces pro-style odor and carbon monoxide and all that sort of stuff if something goes wrong. And if a recipe goes wrong, it's also going to produce all that much more smoke. So with all that in mind, a vent hood that exhausts to the outside is an absolute must. And the more BTUs the range puts out, the more air that blower needs to be able to move. Now, think about this. Because you're taking so much air out of the kitchen, you have to also add air into the kitchen. So sometimes they also need what's known as make-up air, another place where air from the outside can pull back in, and it can be done in such a way as to not waste too much energy in terms of taking in hot air in the summer or cold air in the winter. But all of this has to be considered. So it's definitely not something that a DIYer should be doing. Also, you need to check your supply line. Most pro-style ranges need a bigger gas line. And don't forget about this. Measure it. You know how every once in a while you hear about the ships that are too big to get out of the port? Wasn't the Amazon guy, Bezos, didn't he order a yacht that couldn't get out of the port or something, or they'd take a bridge apart or something like that? Your little version of that might be ordering your dream pro-style range and find out that it doesn't fit in your door. So make sure you measure your front door or your slider, or however you plan on getting it in, so that doesn't become a hindrance.
Yeah, that's definitely something to consider because that would be the worst. Could you imagine you get this beautiful range and then you can't get it inside?